Today, in the media conference with Lal Goyal, which is brought to you by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV, News Gaon Se, Samvad Sarokar News, Organ Donation India Foundation and Gyan, our endeavor is to bring to you and enlighten you with the current topic. And as you all are aware that the 2020 year was full of difficulties because of the pandemic, that is COVID-19. And today our current topic is 2020 dietitian views. The first law of dietetics seems to be if it is good, it is bad for you. Our food should be our medicine and our medicine should be our food. Nutrition is a science, not an opinion. Dietitians are the clinical nutrition experts. Highly qualified and legally regulated, they are the only professionals specifically trained to support the nutrition and hydration needs of acutely and chronically ill people with a wide range of conditions and to monitor the nutritional status of the populations at risk, including older adults and people with food insecurity. The core role that dietitians are playing in the response to COVID-19 from the front line in acute care to population level advice and support in acute community care, primary care, food service, etc. A nutritionist is a person who advises others on matters of food and nutrition and their impacts on health. Some people specialize in particular areas such as sports nutrition, public health, or animal nutrition, among other disciplines. In many countries, a person can claim to be a nutritionist even without any training, education, or professional license, in contrast to a dietitian who has a university degree, professional license, and certification for professional practice. Dietitians and nutritionists in India held about 150,000 jobs in 2011. More than half of all dietitians and nutritionists worked in hospitals, nursing homes, and physicians' office and clinics. Several professional associations are available to serve nutritionists, dietitians, and food technologists in India, such as Nutrition Society of India, Food Scientists and Nutritionists Association India, Indian Dietetics Association, IAPEN, etc. Over the past 2 decades, while there was an emerging global trend towards better nutrition, the scale of the opportunity was never big enough in India for it to move from a fitness or curativeness to a part of your daily lifestyle. The per capita spend on nutritional products in India is a mere $2 compared to over $40 in developed economies. This shoot up exponentially. Most conversations around health were exercise and goal-oriented. However, now the pandemic has led to widespread acceptance of the science-backed truth that health is more about nutrition than exercise. There has been an unprecedented focus on diet and nutrition as a means of being healthy. Vitamins and minerals, proteins, supplements, and energy drinks have become part of everyday speak. A survey revealed that in the month of June 2020, over 92% medicine bills were for immunity boosters. Nutrition has thus gone from a good to have to a must have. And this macro wave is leading to nutrition tech exploding as a business sector. Though no food will cure COVID-19 infections, a healthy diet along with a good physical activity will help build a stronger immune system to tackle the adverse impact of the deadly coronavirus. The notion of diet simply defines the range of food we eat of any kind, shape, or form. However, our natural and socio-economic environment has led the general public to understand the term diet as something restrictive, namely as a method for losing weight. The ancient Greeks and Romans already understood that food and physical exercise influence our health and our weight. The Greek dietia, from which the word diet is derived, to a whole way of living focused on self-control and eating in moderation. A healthy diet is one that helps maintain or improve overall health. A healthy diet provides the body with essential nutrition, fluid, macronutrients, micronutrients, and adequate calories. A healthy diet may contain fruits, vegetables, and whole grains and includes little to no processed food and sweetened beverages. The requirement for a healthy diet can be met from a variety of plant-based and animal foods, although a non-animal source of vitamin B12 is needed for those following a vegan diet. Various nutrition guides are published by medical and governmental institutions to educate individuals on what they should be eating to be healthy. Nutrition facts labels are also mandatory in some countries to allow consumers to choose between foods based on the components relevant to health. Now, to discuss this very important topic, we have a very elite, very experienced, educated, qualified panel with us. And I would like to invite my first guest, and he is Dr. Rajiv Anand. Dr. Rajiv Anand is a senior psychiatrist and marriage counselor. Dr. Rajiv Anand passed his MBBS in 1976 and did MD in psychiatry in 1980 from King George Medical College, Lucknow. He opted to serve his country when it was very common to settle abroad for a brighter future. He has been serving society with his base in Bombay. He has clients all over India as well as in many other countries. He was honored with Lifetime Achievement Award by AMA. He has conducted more than 3,000 workshops for different groups and companies with audience size of 10 to 800. His television program on various channels have been widely appreciated for his forthright and tactical approach. He is leading in the field of mental and emotional well-being for 40 years. He was president of IMA for 2 times. He was interviewed in several talk shows in domestic as well as internationally. Welcome, Dr. Rajiv Anand, on our show. Today, as you know, the topic is about this year, that is 2020, which is going to be over in another fortnight. And we all know that this year was a very difficult year because of coronavirus. And you being a psychiatrist and you are seeing the patients from all sects of society, and you are also advising them because even for the mental health, a good healthy food is required. So we would like to know from you, Dr. Rajiv Anand, your views about the 2020, the year, how it passed, and especially in view of the diets of the people. Dr. Rajiv Anand, please.
Yes, good morning, Krishalal, for your kind words, and thank you for your kind words. And good morning to my fellow panelists, Mahek, Neha, and Ishita, all 3 bright young ladies. They are really the future of this country. And I would explain what do I mean by this word. This is not a slogan by a politician, this is a reality. And welcome to viewers from the Kerala and Karnataka and from Bihar, from UP, from through global TV to other places in the world, and through YouTube and through Facebook Live. What am I doing with sitting with the 3 dietitians? Let me clarify. And as I said, future is with dietitian. And the word dietitian is most misunderstood term. Most people associate diet or dietitian with only weight reduction. Tum ye mat khana, tum wo mat khana, tum fried mat khana, tum meeta mat khana, only that. So most people think that they already know kya nahi khana. Why to go to dietitian and waste their money? And that's a very unfortunate part, because they are so blissfully unaware about it that the science has advanced so much. Being in the science of the psychology for last more than 4 decades, I have no hesitation in saying that huge research has been and is being done. A lot of significant findings have been found out on the gut-brain connection. There's the stomach or your bowels or your stomach and the mind. And this huge research has found a lot of psychiatric problem or behavioral problem or emotional problem do have a very clear and very strong connection with what happens in our gut, what happens with the billions of bacteria which are there in our bowels, how we maintain them, because they are the army which help us fight with many other negative bacteria, which are the natural antibiotics in our body. But most of us believe that dietitian would only make a list of तुम carbohydrate, protein और fat में ये balance करके खा लेना, which is ridiculous now because the science advanced. Dietitian wouldn't prefer to be called merely dietitian. They would prefer to be called nutritional. That's nutritional medicine. Medicine, nutritional medicine. That's why whenever I come across so many advertisements on groups, etc., that wait, so I ask them, give me your card, give me your qualification, because you can't just sell a produce coming from some part of the world and can claim to be expert in weight reduction. You have to have qualification in the nutritional medicine. Almost every day or second day, I receive something from someone would weight reduce kind of a gimmick based on this and that product. No, that's all gimmick, nothing else. So nutritional medicine expert, that's what dietitians are. Let me also express my dismay and my disgust that we, all of us, including me, up to a great part of my life, are the biggest enemy of our own physical and emotional health. Because we do the greatest injustice to our stomach. We just dump anything and everything, anytime, in any quantity. And we believe that the stomach will take care of it. How often we, the so-called intelligent and educated people, have really been friends to our stomach? How often we have understood the language of our stomach? How often we have understood what to be done, what not to be done? That means simple words, better words would be what to eat, what not to, when to eat, when not to, how to eat, how not to, how much gap to be given in eating or not, what particular things would suit my requirement, what particular things will not suit my requirement or my nature or my constitution. I, as an individual, irrespective of my education, cannot be expert in judging it. And so-called Google grandfather, I'm not using Hindi word, so-called Google grandfather, cannot help me. That can provide me only 5% input. That can't provide me 100% knowledge. Believe me, I at least recommend all my educated patients, out of 10 patients to 8, I recommend that please get in touch with a dietitian as early as possible, or nutritional medicine expert. Of course, they take time to understand this word because the easier word and the popular word and the shorter word is dietitian. And they feel we already know. Or many of them, they go on the internet and fill up some form and find out this kind of recipe, and they feel we already know why we have to go for that. And they, as I said, they become their own enemy. 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 visits to a dietitian is a lifetime medicine. Mr. Lal said very, very aptly. Medicine, food is medicine. And this is not what one individual named Rajiv Anand is saying first time in the history of the mankind. No. This had been so clearly understood for ages, all through Ayurveda. What a delight to know that so many sects in our country, they are so clear about what to eat and when not to eat. Beyond 6:30, not to eat, or when to eat, or how much to eat. I mean, I was very happy when I heard in Buddhist literature that the Buddha used to ask for the ants, and that was the concept. You have to eat only one time, as much as you can hold it in your palm. That's enough. Eat it 2.5, 3 hours later. Why we have a necessity of eating the full thali, which should have 10 items? Of course, once in a while, I also enjoy looking up at this, but it's not every time. Why we have to dump and why we have to load our stomach? We should undergo digestive process for the next 4, 5, 6 hours. So back to, as a psychiatrist, I have been observing to dismay, to disgust, to disturbance, as well as concern. There are many of us, and that begins with me. I am in my late 60s, post-bypass diabetic. I believe that touch wood, thank God, thanks my dietitian friend, all 3 of them great ladies sitting over here would guide me. I have been maintaining my reasonable mental and physical health if I've been giving little time on what to eat, when to eat, and what not to eat. And when I say a little time, I'm clarifying it. What do I mean by it? Out of 24 hours in any section of society, be it from Gujarat, which is known for its fondness for the food, or Punjab, or Uttar Pradesh, or whichever part of the country, out of 24 hours, we spend roughly 10 hours in working, earning money, or going to the office and coming back. We spend 10 hours concerning the earning money. We spend roughly 3-4 hours in thinking about the food, in eating the food, and then add 3-4 hours in digesting the food or digesting inappropriately. Remaining 6, 7, 8 hours for the sleep. May I address every individual who is listening to this program in any part of the country or abroad? Out of 24 hours, 1% time, and that would come round figure 15 minutes only. Out of 24 hours, only 15 minutes to sit quietly and review whatever you are eating. Are you eating to your good health? Are you eating for your taste? Are you eating whatever you are eating is going to help you? Or is going to satiate your taste buds only for a minute or so? Now, if it is going to satisfy the taste bud for a minute or so, then what difference is there between me in late 60s and my granddaughter who is 2 years old? She also loves chocolate, which lasts on the tongue less than a minute. And I also love if I also love fourth gulab jamun, and the first gulab jamun has passed through my tongue 30 seconds, and second one, and third one, and fourth one, and fifth one, and sixth one, then what difference in my maturity between me and my granddaughter? I am like 2-year-old child. And that's what tragically, unfortunately, most people are. And they claim to be educated, they claim to be intellectual, and they are ruining their physical health, pot belly, high cholesterol, heart disorder, blood pressure, diabetes, various other problems, which all these three young ladies would tell, and emotional problem, beginning from simplest of lethargy to depression to irritation to many other problems have been associated. In fact, I'm curtailing my talk by 3-4 minutes because most people avoid going to one dietitian. And today, fortunately, this morning, courtesy Mr. Lal, and courtesy this media conference, we have 3 dietitians. So my viewers of this program today are luckiest among millions of people who are facing 3 dietitians. Let's listen to them. That's more fortunate than my whatever I'm talking about it. So over to you, Mr. Lal. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rajiv Anand. And Dr. Rajiv Anand has clarified that why he is there on this show, being a psychiatrist. He says, because it is a very enlightening thing for all of the viewers and for all of us, that the mental health also depends what you are eating. Because if you are eating healthy food, definitely your mental health or emotions will be different than a junk food. So Dr. Rajiv Anand's suggestion is for everyone, please go for a dietitian who is a well qualified, who is trained in the management of nutrition, and take their advice, and then only you decide about your eating habits. Don't go whatsoever you want to eat or whatsoever your tasty buds recommend you, whether it's a gulab jamun or chocolates. And for that, please, according to him, one should visit a dietitian and listen to them and follow them if you want to remain a healthy person. Thank you very much, Dr. Rajiv Anand. I will also not take much time for summarizing today, as you have already mentioned. So we would like to listen from our dietitians, because this is today's media conference is dedicated to them. Now, it is not a diet, it is called eating healthy. And for that, now I am inviting my next guest, and she is Miss Makhija. Ms. Mehak is a consulting medical nutritionist practicing in this field since more than 2 decades. She completed her BHSC and PG diploma in dietetics and clinical nutrition at Nirmala Niketan College, Mumbai. She worked at Breach Candy Hospital, Mumbai, and also at Asha Parekh Hospital, Mumbai. She imparted nutrition counseling to employees of various MNCs as well. She also held lectures on nutrition in many schools and colleges. Currently, she is engaged in private consultation and also attached with an NGO for nutritional assessment and advice for orphan children. Welcome, Ms. Mehak Makhija on our show. Ms. Mehak, you have already heard what Dr. Rajiv Anand has mentioned, and he very clearly sent a message to everyone to go and consult a dietitian before taking any decision for eating whatsoever you want to eat. So now we would like to know, because as you know, this 2020, everyone suffered with the COVID. And this time, this COVID, although many negatives are there, the positiveness is that the most impact is for the health. Awareness has been created and everybody started talking about health, because if you are healthy, then only you can survive. And in health also, the main thing which has come is the immunity. And people were talking that you have to eat this, that, whatnot, whatnot. So it works out to be on the diet. So it's better to listen from you, your views on 2020, which year has passed, almost passed now, only 14, 15 days left. So your views, Ms. Mehak Makhija, on 2020, please.
Good morning, namaste, and a very warm welcome to all of you. It's my honor to be there on this same platform as Dr. Anand, Mr. Lal, and my colleagues Neha and Ishita. As Dr. Anand has rightly said, that food is thy medicine. Thomas Edison, all those years ago, had said that the future of doctors will be to advise the humans to build their frame, to eat proper food, and that will be the medicine. Unfortunately, very few people have still realized the importance or the worth of good nutrition. Google, social media, and a lot of fad diets are doing the rounds, but that is not the need of the hour. I would first like to just quote a Sanskrit shlok, because since time immemorial, our ancestors have known the importance of food. So I would say, Deepo Bhakshayate, Dvantam Kajalam Cha Prasuyate, Yadatam Bhaksha Nityam, Jayati Tadrashi Praja. To translate it, a lamp eats away darkness and produces soot. Similarly, we are what we eat. What goes into our body is what makes us. This COVID-19 has been a very trying time for many of the nations across the globe. It has been one of the largest health and socio-economic crises across the world. There is hardly anybody who has stayed unblemished from this pandemic. But along with the onslaught of bad news around the pandemic, there is a silver lining. The silver lining, the positivity, and the acceptance of the behavioral pattern, the changes in the dietary and food habits of people across the world. This is a positive change that we would like to see followed even after the pandemic ends. Although there is a lot of consumption of processed foods, packaged foods, ready-to-eat foods in the urban areas as compared to the rural areas, because of the current pandemic and the complete lockdown, things were difficult. Food procurement, access, and utilization had a lot of difficulties. This crisis has caused people to reevaluate their diets because it has underlined the link between food and immunity. As Sir rightly said, immunity boosters were the superheroes of the crisis. Anything and everything was being sold in the name of immunity. Chyawanprash has had a sale of 700% more than it had ever had in the past decade, because everything was only immunity boosting. But nutrition, good health, and immunity cannot be built overnight. It is a long-term process, and it's with every day a slight change in our lifestyle. It's more of a lifestyle modification than a change in our intake of food. So we'll have to see that we go under proper guidance and we are able to follow a proper diet suited for our body. It's a tailor-made diet for each person. Each individual is different. We cannot have one specific diet that is going to work for all. As you all must have heard, there were a lot of talks of zinc, vitamin D, vitamin C, protein, iron. All these help to build up our immunity. At the same time, if you're going to be eating high processed food which are high in fat, salt, preservatives, and sugar, they're going to have a completely negative effect on our immune system. So we have to go back to our traditional Indian diet, where there was a more plant-based, fiber-rich intake, which concentrated on an intake of plenty of fresh fruits and vegetables, whole grains, and legumes. During this COVID times, people were even afraid to eat non-vegetarian food. So there was a decline in the consumption of animal protein, because people thought that, of course, it was wrong, that the animals could be carriers of this virus. So there was more of a shift to a vegetarian food than non-veg in the initial phases. Also, there is a lot of stress which was associated with this pandemic. And as Sir rightly said, that our physical health is also linked to our mental health. This has been a testing time and a prolonged period of anxiety for people all over the world. There was not only economic hurdles or financial burdens, but also being confined to your home, to not be able to interact with people, and to be just tied up with in the same environment. It took a toll on a lot of people's mental health also. Stress is a factor which can cause people to eat to eat extra, and they look for comfort foods. They look for foods that are high in sugar, because that is going to give them a mood uplift. But they do not realize that later on it's going to cause a higher risk of obesity, cardiovascular diseases, and metabolic diseases. So if we speak in relation to India, India has seen a tremendous change in the sphere of nutrition and dietary habits during this time. And most of them have been positive. The pandemic and its corresponding lockdown has seemed to have a stronger than exceptional or expected impact on the eating habits and the food choices of various people around. I would explain in detail the preference for home cooked foods, with restaurants, fast food joints, eating out places, and street food coming to a total standstill during the initial phase of the lockdown. People, out of compulsion or out of choice, had to only get self-reliant at home and had to have home cooked food. This was a very positive shift because of maybe a time factor, convenience factor. People were dependent a lot on outside food, especially the younger generation. This younger generation got inspired with social media. There were a lot of food channels. There were a lot of media platforms promoting healthy eating and home cooking. The young bakers and chefs arose in everybody. And your Facebook, your Instagram, they were inundated with chefs, young new chefs trying out recipes. This is a very positive change. And I just hope that this is going to last even post-COVID times. When we come to healthier eating and food safety, people have become more cautious now of the hygiene. The pandemic has arisen a lot of second thoughts in people for eating street food. The people who can afford to have better food have shifted their focus. Good health and immunity, along with intrinsic factors, are greatly dependent on the food we consume and the lifestyle followed. This is a fact that has gained prominence during the COVID pandemic. The general public was given the idea that any unbalanced diet they ate would make individuals more prone to the virus. So people everywhere who had the means started consuming healthier food. There was a flood of immunity booster foods. There were miracle herbs. Even we went back to our traditional Ayurveda, where we started promoting ginger, garlic, haldi, and black cumin, where the people could get benefits with natural herbs for their immune system. With increased consumption of traditional healthy food, this is a very welcome development, but we must see that these items are easily procured, affordable to the general public, and should be promoted even in the future. In terms of fitness, in the times of COVID-19, many individuals took up fitness more seriously. There were several challenges like the 30-day challenge, the clothing challenge, which was there on the media platforms. And the younger generation especially took up these challenges. There was the factor that there were no gyms, there was limited access to outside areas, the parks being closed. So people had to focus only on indoor activity. The Zumba classes, online dance classes, these took up a lot of the youth's attention. Also, the little older people started paying more attention to yoga, from basic asanas to your pranayams to even advanced yoga. This took over a lot of people's interest. We have to see that we are our future, our generation, the next generation that is there, they have to be healthy. We cannot be causing a burden on the government because of our health issues which are in our hand. There are some issues which we cannot help, but which are food related issues like obesity and obesity linked diseases like your cardiovascular disease, your renal disease, hypertension, diabetes, all these can be taken care of. So when Sir said that the gulab jamuns, I would only like to say one thing: a minute of taste and a lifetime on the waist. So it's very difficult to knock off that bit. We are just eating, we don't realize the repercussions that are going to follow later. So I would like to conclude with that as life is slowly returning back to a semblance of normalcy, there is a possibility of a resurgence of the unhealthy eating habits that were there pre-COVID. So it is crucial that the healthy habits that we have adopted are carried forward. An individual who has started to learn and to relish the home cooked food in the home environment should continue to do so. Maybe occasionally, we are all humans, we get tempted. We can go astray on certain occasions with the fast food or with some outside food, but we should predominantly try to include only home cooked foods in our diet. Also, healthy citizens make a healthy nation. So the onus is on us to make our nutrition and health a priority even in the post-COVID times. So where we have to give in to the temptation of fast food occasionally, it is crucial that we may carry forward all our positive learnings that we have had with respect to good nutritional habits. And although the negative effects of the pandemic outweigh the positives, the positive behavioral change that I have noticed in so many of my patients, and I'm sure even my colleagues must have witnessed the same, we should encourage this and promote it and see that this lasts for the future also.
Thank you, Ms. Mehak. And healthy citizens make healthy nation, says Ms. Mehak Makhija. And she has given the details, and according to her, a healthy diet is beneficial for everyone, and one should follow that. Everyone's diet is a different thing. One cannot see that if somebody has taken a prescription, if he or she is eating this, if I will also follow, I will also get the same results. No, one has to see the body composition and all those things. According to her, it is a very, very much required today, especially in this pandemic time and the last year. And she has mentioned one thing which is very alarming also, that the Chyawanprash sale has increased by 700%. Now, whether it has benefited or not, because recently there were news items that they have conducted a research on this honey, and they found that except 3 brands, all the other brands failed for the specification laid down by FSSAI. And this shows that whether you are eating a proper Chyawanprash recommended by a dietitian, or you are eating whatsoever is available, what you are watching on television, the ad, similarly for the honey or any other products. So please consult your dietitian, doctor, ask them, then only go for this. Don't become yourself the doctor or the dietitian and harm your own health. Thank you very much, Ms. Mehak Makhija, for giving your views. Now I would like to invite my next guest, and she is Ms. Adi Neha Kawa. Ms. Neha is the National Registered Dietitian and Nutritionist at Mumbai. She is BHSC in Food and Nutrition, PG in Applied Nutrition and Dietetics, as well as certification in Sports Nutrition. She is having 10 years of experience in clinical nutrition and weight management. Her specialization is in nutrition planning, diet planning, community health talks, corporate health talks, school health talks, panel discussions, group discussion, online consultation, India, overseas, and abroad. Welcome, Ms. Neha Kawa on our show. Ms. Neha, you have already heard what Dr. Rajiv Anand as well as our earlier panelist, Ms. Mehak Makhija has spoken. And both has emphasized for the dietitians to be consulted, although you are all three of you are dietitians, so you have to say, but Dr. Rajiv Anand, he is not a dietitian, but he has also mentioned very clearly that everyone, whether even if he's a medical doctor, not a dietitian, they all have to consult a dietitian to remain healthy. Now, we would like to know, because as everybody knows, the entire world faced this COVID-19 pandemic. And this time, the main focus was for that diet. And as Ms. Mehak has mentioned about the Chyawanprash sale and all other things, similarly, many other things have come up, which in the name of immunity booster also and whatnot. But we would like to know from you your views on 2020. Ms. Adi Neha Kawa, please.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lal, for the pleasing introduction. And thank you, Ms. Mehak, for a lovely, informative session from your end. I would be talking about more of what I experienced as a dietitian in 2020. So initially when this started, as a nutritionist, as a dietitian, we always keep talking about, lifestyle changes which are required to have a better health. So this pandemic definitely got willingly or unwillingly a total lifestyle change in almost each one of our lives. Okay, so in our lifestyle consultation, we usually keep talking about, eating habits, activity levels, sleep, stress, water intake. These are the things which we counsel patients on and how they can do better with their health by bringing these changes. So this pandemic has definitely made everyone realize that how health is important and how it is important to follow these lifestyle changes which will give them a better health. So with starting of this pandemic, I used to always get messages that can you suggest some immunity boosters? Can you suggest some decoctions? So the start for this pandemic was, emphasizing on immunity booster and all. So as Ms. Mehak said that immunity cannot be developed by a night. So if for building immunity, all these parameters do play an important role, like your eating habits, your sleeping pattern, how you manage your stress. So all these makes up the immunity. It is not just having a drink of immunity booster and your immunity will be good. So this was the awareness which I started spreading within my clientele, also on social media, spreading across the channels through webinars and stuff, where immunity is not one night thing which can be developed. So from there, the uh, I started educating people, because initially people will not open to online consultation, which was one of the factor which was a drawback for the dietitians, where people were not comfortable consulting a dietitian online. So in this 2020 has definitely made people comfortable consulting a dietitian and counseling on online platform. Secondly, like as we know that Google always gives some information, but I always try to explain people that Google will always give you information but will not give you knowledge. So if you are looking for some knowledge, then kindly approach the right person, so that you definitely get your better health status. Also, there came in a time of having multiple decoctions. Like people used to have these kadas, like with ginger, turmeric, or peppers and stuff, twice a day, thrice a day, and landing up with some sort of digestive issues, having some kind of ulcers, and then treating that again, there was a need to have medicines. So it was like a complete circle, because whenever there is any kind of infection or any ulcers, so antibiotic is one of the treatment by the doctors. So again, antibiotics also suppresses your immunity. So there was lot of confusion in people whether to take or whether to not take. So explaining them to take everything in moderation would be fine. There was too much of anxiety, and I would say people were even afraid to have any ice cream or maybe a cold drink, because of so much of stress build up, that we are not supposed to, let anything affect your throat, because everything starts from throat. So people were very nervous to eat anything, or even have their regular eating pattern. So they changed completely from not having curds. I had many clients who stopped having curds because of the just to make sure that their throat is good. So it was very difficult to make them understand that, like, don't panic so much, things will fall in place, just make sure that you don't do anything which will suppress your immunity. So clean eating habits was something which has to be educated in terms of avoiding too much of processed food, too much of sugar items. Like people were spending more time at home, so there were multiple meals which were happening. So gradually, all those things, like as Miss Mehak said, there were new chefs, bakers, and chocolatiers developed suddenly. Everyone tried their hands on cooking. So there were multiple meals which were happening, which were increasing the intake of processed and sugar in the diet. So which was counseled to be, it occasional, like everything in moderation is fine. So that was something which was educated to my clients and through my webinars and stuff. Plenty of fluids, yes. Like when this decoction thing started, so the main reason of having decoction was to like hydrate your throat frequently, so which can occasionally be also done with warm water, and not need not be, always adding of ginger, turmeric, which can cause heat in the body. Okay, physical activity, as people were not allowed to move out, so people who were into regular exercise, it was like a very trauma kind of situation, very depressing situation, where they were not allowed to move outside, they were not allowed to pick up their dumbbells and work out. So for them also, there was a different phase where they were very uncomfortable by not doing exercise. So that was another chunk of people who used to feel very low on their energy levels, because there was no exercise in their routine. And good sleep, like 6 to 8 hours of sleep, what we usually recommend. So being at home, that was one thing which was easy for people to go on, because they are saving their time on commuting to their offices, so they are at home, so they can, always have a good sleeping pattern. But again, there were another chunk of people who spend that, or I would say wasted that sleeping hours to watch web series, I would say, like binge watching web series. So that again led to less sleep in some people, having also insomnia kind of thing, where they were so involved watching web series that they, slept only for 3 to 4 hours. So these were the kind of patients which I came across during this pandemic. And physically, people were less stressed, uh, because they were at home sitting for most of the time. Many of them had work from home schedule, but there was since there were no helpers at home, so that was a kind of activity which many people had started. And I'm sure, like, I have 50% of the clients who are still doing their house things on their own, because now they have got used to it, and they want to continue till the time the gyms are not completely functional. So that is a very positive aspect of saving on some economy also, and doing things for themselves as a part of exercise, and which helps the housewives as well. And financial stress, definitely many of them are going through, because of which they are too much stressed. So stress management is one thing what we usually want people to advise, and go into more of meditation, think of positive things which have happened in past, and do not lose hope, because we are soon going to overcome this pandemic. And lifestyle changes which have happened for good, in terms of eating home cooked food, reducing the frequency of eating processed food or junk food, uh, keeping ourselves active. Like right now they are doing it for home chorus, but spending some calories, burning some calories on exercise, having plenty of fluids. So that is one habit I'm sure many of the people have developed, that increasing their fluid intake, increasing their water intake, keeping their throat hydrated, which again gives has too many benefits on the metabolism of the body. So that is helping. And good sleep is something which I always recommend, that if you get good sleep, then everything will fall in space the next day when you get up. So as Mr. Anand, Dr. Anand said that you should spend some time on evaluating your diet. So I would say you should spend some time on deciding that what is going to be your next day's routine, so you know that what you are going to do, so you do not miss anything. And I usually emphasize on being active for my clients, because I believe if you are active, then you will be able to take care of your health in a better way. So I always give this example of forming exercise as a part of your routine. It shouldn't be a small term goal, like you want to lose weight, okay, I'll exercise. You want to gain muscles, okay, I'll exercise. Exercise is as important as you brush your teeth, because we are habituated of brushing our teeth every day. That is the reason it is we are still following. So exercise has to be like there should be dedicated hour of exercise, which everyone at home should be aware of. Like 8 to 9 is exercise time, so that even your body has to know, even everyone at your home has to know that that is your time to exercise. If you take it in your routine, then only it is something which you will follow for a longer period of time. So when we counsel patient, we do not talk about small term goals. We always talk about forming small habits which you can take along with you and have a healthy life throughout. We don't want our patients or clients to come back to us again and again with the same issue of weight gain, weight loss. We want them to maintain that thing and follow that for a longer period of time, so that they don't have to see us again. So that is my role as a dietitian, that I want my client to be their own dietitian, own nutritionist. I want to educate them so that they don't have to go to several other dietitians after me. I want them to follow and understand whatever they are doing, what is their personal requirement, is something which is important, which has to be educated to the client, rather than just writing a diet on a piece of paper and giving. So that is my role as a dietitian, as a nutritionist, to my clients and to all my readers and viewers here. So for any help, you can always drop in a message on the chat window right now. If any questions, anything, please let me know. I'll be glad to answer them.
And thank you very much, Ms. Neha. And her message is very clear: be your own dietitian. She said that what she has done in this last year is to create awareness, because so many initial phase of the lockdown, immediately the flood of immunity boosters, everybody wanted to get the immunity overnight. But according to her, as well as according to Ms. Mehak, the immunity cannot be increased overnight. It is a gradual process, and for that you have to you eat a healthy food, and that is only possible if you are taking regularly. It is not that today you have eaten very healthy food and afterwards you are not eating. So what according to Ms. Neha, you have to be a regular, a long term. She says she always counsel for a long term basis, not a short term, that today you have taken something and afterwards you have forgotten and again you are coming back to a dietitian, which is not required. And if you follow a fixed pattern, whether it's for exercise or for the food, then you don't require to go visit a dietitian. And that's why she says, be your own dietitian. You need not a dietitian to go anywhere. If you understand the importance of the diet and the nutritional food, which is very much required, and especially in this last year, the 2020, which she says is a special year where the people understood the importance of the diet as well as the exercise. Thank you very much, Ms. Neha, for giving your views. I'm sure these views are beneficial and enlightening our viewers very much. Now, I would like to invite my next guest, and she is Miss Ishita Praful Nishar. Miss Ishita is the visiting faculty of D.Y. Patil University, Mumbai, for Bachelors of Sports and Exercise Science. She is BSc in Food and Nutrition Specialization, Dietetics, and Postgraduate Diploma in Sports and Exercise Science, Fitness and Nutrition from SNDT University. She is a certified personal trainer. Her special interest is in making people fit and making them exercise and eat right food in right manner and right time. She is currently working and building her own brand called MaxFit with Ishita. Her goal is to be a successful dietitian and help people achieve their fitness goals in sustainable way by creating awareness in them and educating them about the importance of traditional, local, and seasonal food. Welcome, Ms. Ishita on our show. Ms. Ishita, you have heard what Dr. Rajiv Anand, what Ms. Mehak, and what Ms. Neha has spoken before you. Now, you being a dietitian, and as well as you have mentioned that you are main is the special interest is to make people fit, and you are a certified personal trainer. So definitely your views it will definitely interest on those who really wants to be fit, who wants to become like a if we say the filmy heroes or the Bollywood hero or heroines. So they definitely they are going to watch you very closely what you are going to say, and especially keeping in mind this 2020, because the 2020 was being a special year for everyone. I will say very not a good year. Special means not a good year, but whatsoever the opportunities have come and what lessons we have learned, that is also very important. So we would like to know from you your views on 2020. Miss Ishita Nishar, please.
First of all, thank you very much for the opportunity that you have given to me and the platform that you've given to me. Also, it was really good to listen Miss Neha Kawa and Mehak Mija. So it was really nice to meet my seniors in the same field, and I got to learn a lot many from them as well. So starting with yes, this year was like it taught us a lot many things, and it's taught the most important lesson of our life. We as dietitians, or we as fitness trainers, or personality, or people in the industry, were teach from years to the people that how important your health, how important it is to stay fit and to stay healthy all the year long, not for just particular pandemic that we are facing this year. So we need to maintain the immunity throughout the year and out our life. It is not particularly only to this year 23. As I correctly told other my co-dietitians over here, that it is not something which is built over a year, it's something which is achieved on a long-term basis. So if you've started building immunity, then this winter is the right time. So I hope that you all are having your all good immune building food in winter season. This is the right time where you actually can take all foods that are hot in tendency, hot in nature, they go into the body. For example, methi seeds, all. So I hope you're building them and having those tika laddu and all those things and building your immunity for the entire year and starting or taking up towards it. Now, when we move on, so this platform says on the topic of like what are your views for 2020? Then what I have observed in the year of 2020 is some that I would like to summarize in 5 points. And the first point I would like to say is, it has seen two kinds of people. One which have achieved fitness goals and become more fit. So they want for making changes in their lifestyle and become more fit. They have started including good sleep patterns. They've started towards health lifestyle, started eating lean. They've started working out on regular basis. And the other group of people, they have become totally irresponsible and they've become just like they've turned their entire world upside down. So sleeping patterns are disturbed, their weight is gained, and they've cooked so much in the home, eaten up, as told by Neha ma'am. Like, she told really very nice that people start eating a lot of things, started cooking, as told by Mehak. So she also that people, young bakers and all those, that led to a little bit of more sugar intake, a little bit more stressful, and that gained for the other chunk of people. So these two kind of people, one the healthy lifestyle continued, and they took up this lifestyle as their age, and they motivated themselves to get into it. And the who did not work on it, so they've become client for us. So they've given this to us. The second one is the second point I would like to say is. They have like the importance of home meal has increased over one which was used from the which taken from outside. So yeah, that has increased. And when we connect food traditionally also and also this told as one which connects us emotionally. So when the emphasis is given more on cooking at home, that's the main part where the entire family took part in. So every, including the husband, the kids, everybody is into the kitchen and cooking, and that's the meal that is produced. It is rightly said the family which eats together stays together, and that's what this 2020 do. And that just connects the people all in the family. So a little of misunderstanding, a little of whatever it was, the food connected all. Maybe in the kitchen making it, maybe on dining table serving and eating food. The third thing I would like to focus on is the pandemic, the major impact on the kids and the citizens as well. So talking about kids, this is the right time when actually kids were not using the packets or the chips to pack are going less in their tummy, and more of the food that were cooked home, more the traditional mid-meal or the snacks that say which traditional cook like the chip we can talk about, we talk about roasted home makhana, we can talk about normal fruits and vegetables also which are grown locally and into the house. That was the major food in their plate, in the kids' plate. Also, they were sitting with their parents and eat it, so they could be and they idealize what their parents are eating. They are eating the same. So it is something that they're forced to eat on the name of say healthy or on the name of this is more nutrition, this will build your body, it's going to build bones. No, they saw that what their parents are eating, they're also eating the same. So that gave good impact, a positive connect between both of them, and that grew up. So also this is an important opportunity for the parents to get the healthy lifestyle or let it the clean eating pattern that they want in their children. So they inculcate this time, whatever include or inculcate at time, stay for longer stored. So that is they actually without influence, fear or any way, because this kids they small they're very they're very kind of diverting, they get easily influenced by the peers. So in the school somebody brings something else, they tend to have that cranky, oh that person has got a cake so I also need to have. But it was not e-school, it was e-schooling all the time, so it was the right time the parents could actually teach them what is health and how to do it. So yeah, no kids suffer from the e-schooling thing, but this is the added advantage that they could do. Plus, it also helped them to connect their grandparents and to learn their recipes when they were cooking in the kitchen with them. So that helped them to get their tradition still on the next generation. Now coming to senior citizens, this age group was majorly affected. The age group is we could see that it was a psychological challenge for them. to stay in the house and not follow the routine. So that this was time when they actually had to deal a lot of challenges, but it came out very soft and very handy because they had their grandchildren, they had their kids were looking after them. They actually connect and emotionally spend them. Although they taught them to exercise. Like I have personally seen many of the kids teaching mom and dad at the age of 60s or 70s how to do a perfect good sport with the help of the child. Yes, of course. Also how to do a little bit of exercise by stretching, pulling, and all those. That is really good because we see them only exercising some of the park or anything and not their kids. So this is the time when entire family was exercising and has inculcated a step that exercise is important at all age groups. Also, for the kids first who went to sports, only those kids were interested in exercising or physical fitness. But now the parents have understood the importance of fitness and exercise. They've started enrolling their kids from now to some other physical activity in some of the other sports. So I have my nephew who's doing a lot of exercises and he does all kinds of exercises you wish to see. He does perfect squats, lunges. At the age of 6, when you teach to write, to exercise and take it and bit of exercising for them, this is going to stay longer. Fourth that I would like to talk about, fourth point that I'd like to talk about is the awareness matter. Like this time was major where all the dietitians from all spheres, from the clinical, from sports, from public health, everybody came to their social media and started creating awareness, started educating them. What is the right to eat? What is the right kind of lifestyle? What is the sleeping time? How it related to biological clock? What kind of eating do they actually mean? Is it some that is only to be kept boiled food or soups and salads? No, something this include all the meals together. The right portion of macros, carbohydrates, protein, fat. Not eliminating any macronutrient is what cleaning is. And that's what all the dietitians came up through their social media. And they've educated and created a lot of awareness in the bill of what eating that is actually has importance or actually means. So that's very well proclaimed on the social media, and thanks to social media because it has connected us throughout the pandemic and seeing one people do something into fitness, something in exercise, something in eat clean, some cooking of a traditional dish, and this has motivated the other to do it and to share it, and has motivated the other one. So this created a chain of influencing and influencing in a right positive manner, in which they're getting more closer to the food that they are eating, they know what to eat and what not to eat. Also just monitoring their sleep patterns because of that. Also they're looking into it, they are not taking a lot of stress, they are into proper moderation of the health. So that has given their entire lifestyle a turn, and it's a positive turn toward the lifestyle. They are knowing what is a good hours of sleep, what is the time where your body is going to actually do the detox process, what is the time to eat correct food, eat your all major meals, why to have mid meal, and what the real water intake that you need to have, how many steps to do a day, what kind of exercise to do, what is the particular time of exercising. Everything is coming to monitoring of every individual, which has created a health impact or a lifestyle change into their system. And the last point that I will cover is that it has reduced the food wastage, so that like because the hotels and things were shut down, so a little of less food waste being seen, and only food at meals also to the proportion size is what I would like to include in the end, that it has reduced carbon print.
Thank you, Ms. Ishita, for giving the 5 points, the lessons or whatsoever the advantage and the plus points or how it is to be done in last year. And she has mainly thanked the social media She says, because the social media has motivated us, all of us, for the exercise or for the new types of recipes and food. Now, I would like to ask Dr. Rajiv Anand. Dr. Rajiv Anand, you mentioned about that the emotional connect is with the stomach and whatsoever we are eating, etc. But general perception is that we don't want to eat unhealthy food, but or we want to eat healthy food, but it requires a lot of willpower. And willpower, we don't have that much willpower that we can control our tongue, not eating gulab jamun, as you mentioned, or any other unhealthy food, or having some drinks, etc. What you say about this? Is it having any connection with our mental health or the willpower, which generally everybody says, I don't have that much willpower to eat what dietitian has suggested to me. Dr. Anand, please.
In fact, reality is this, that all of us are much more capable of having a stronger willpower with very little application of mind, depending on what are our priorities. We get carried away. Any celebration in our society means food, means variety of food, means different taste of food, and means access of food. And very often for many people, food, not only solid food, food, liquid food also in plenty before and after. So we have been part of a trend which tend to be overfed or overdumped in our system as a part of celebration. If I go a step further, whenever we are in off mood or low mood or depressed mood, we deprive ourselves. Some of us deprive ourselves of the basic food, and some of us overindulge in eating more and dumping our system and feeling full. And that's the only way of feeling comfortable in the background of the uncomfortable mood. So people who are low or feeling depressed, some of them tend to overeat, some of them tend to undereat. Now, connection between the stomach and the brain is not just assumption, it's just not just guesswork. Because lot many mental disorder, lot many psychiatric disorder has been or is being treated for decades. But those who are in the field of psychiatry know up to what extent we are successful with our all modern medicine and all modern methods, or what extent.
Ms. Mehak, for last 1 year, we have seen even from the Ayush Ministry and definitely from WhatsApp University and others, so many things, recommendations are coming that you take ginger, hot water, zinc, vitamin C, and whatnot. And even they are saying take the steam. And I read somewhere that Bangalore doctors have come out with this, that too much of steam is harming the lungs and it is damaging the lungs. So do you think one can go ahead, whatsoever is available in the form of taking the zinc tablets, or taking the hot water throughout the day, or we should consult a proper dietitian first, take their advice, and take the things in a proper way, not whatsoever is been recommended. If suppose somebody recommends take zinc, we are eating zinc without knowing how many mg tablet we have to take, or the similarly for vitamin C. Ms. Mehak, please.
Yes. So I feel over here, moderation is the key. People don't seem to understand that. They follow the WhatsApp University, messages are circulated. There are a lot of people who have come up with their own ideas, and then there's a lot of myths, there are a lot of misconceptions in this field. So yes, people should first consult their physician or their qualified nutritionist, see what is required by their body, because certain of these vitamins, like your vitamin D or your zinc, if there is an overdose, there can also be a problem due to toxicity. There have been cases where patients have come with excess of turmeric, excess of, in their body. In Bangalore itself, there was a case where the patient had yellowing of the skin due to so much of turmeric intake. Again, if we are saying steam once a day, twice a day, it's fine. We're going to continuously be taking steam for longer. Your nasal mucosa, which is very delicate, can get affected. Same with the warm water. So moderation is the main key. You can do these things, but follow them to a particular limit. You can't take everything at face value and just keep doing it, because that is going to cause more harm than good.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Mehak. Now my question goes to Miss Neha. Miss Neha, obesity and diabetes, these two are key factors, and the people says that for the COVID, especially for the COVID, the obesity and diabetes people are more vulnerable. Now, what type of diet one should have? Although you have mentioned very clearly, you all have mentioned that it depends on the different people one has to, but generally what type of thing one should avoid so that they will not be tend to become obese, as well as they will not, they can control the diabetes instead of eating so many medicines, taking medicines. Yes, please.
Thank you, sir, for your question. So for obesity and diabetes, what we usually recommend is restricting having too much of carbohydrates in one meal, and also avoiding processed carbohydrate, which is from your refined wheat or sugar. So these are something which has to be taken care of, and also you are not having larger meals at a time. So your portion size of the meal will play a very important role. Include having a balanced meal. So every meal should have a appropriate portion of carbohydrate, protein, and fats. It cannot be that one meal is high in carbohydrate, one meal is high in protein, and one meal is high in fat. It will not be a balanced meal. Every meal, your breakfast, your lunch, your dinner, your snacks, all the meals should be having appropriate portion of carbohydrate, protein, and healthy fats into it. Also, complementing it with some sort of exercise, which will always help to keep the sugar levels normal. And also for obesity, like obesity will gradually, if not controlled, leads to insulin resistance diabetes. So they always have risk factor for developing diabetes. So same treatment goes for them. Keeping themselves active in terms of going for a walk or any kind of activity they enjoy, any sports they enjoy, along with having balanced meal. Balanced meal is something what we advise on a longer run, and eating food which is traditional to them. For example, for a South Indian person, we cannot recommend start having chapatis. So that might have a negative effect on their sugars or health. So staying to your traditional meals, having a balanced meal composing of carbohydrate, proteins, and fats with adequate water intake, and having healthy snacks. Snacks is something which usually people go very wrong on. They usually, eat either junk food or processed food which comes in during the snack time. So snacking is something which has to be taken care of. Keep yourself surrounded by healthy food so that you don't crave for that unhealthy food to come in, because when you are hungry, you don't allow your brain to think whether it is a right food or a bad food for you. So that makes a very important part, that stock
Oh,
your home with healthy foods.
okay,
Thank you, sir.
thank you very much, Ms. Neha. Now my question is to Ishita. Ms. Ishita, nowadays there is a fashion of keto diet, and especially in the metros, people are following keto diets. What do you say about that diet? That keto diet is good for the, especially in this COVID time, or even otherwise also?
Yes, sir. So keto diet is something that is in trend, and is one of the diets get into everybody's head, because it gives a quick weight loss. So it's something which is more in fat and high in proteins and less carbs, which is not what actually need to do.
Ms. Mac, you can also say something about keto, but my question to you is about the intermittent fasting, which is a very popular thing now with the celebrities. People feel that keeping yourself for fasting for 15 hours or more, or 18 hours sometimes, and then they can reduce the weight. Do you think it is advisable for the public at large?
Intermittent fasting to a limit, yes, because we sleep for 8 hours. Ideally, we should be sleeping for 7 to 9 hours. And prior to we retire to bed, we have to have our last meal 1.5 hour before. So a 12 to 14 hours fasting is advisable, but not more than that, because then the window period becomes very limited, and people tend to get misleaded. They tend to eat a lot of wrong stuff in that window period also, which does not give the desired effect.
Okay, thank you. And can you just say something about the keto diet, because we can't hear from Ms. Ishita at all?
Yes. So the keto diet is actually not for general public. It is for the patients who have convulsions. So this was made for them. It is a diet which is high in fat and zero carbs, high protein, moderate protein. So I wouldn't advise it for general public. It does help in weight loss, but all these fat diets, if continued for a longer period of time, will have some or the other side effect. So it's better to have a lifestyle modification, follow your own routine in moderation, and achieve the results over a longer period.
Okay, thank you very much. Miss Neha, my question to you is, nowadays this vegan diet is also very popular. And only today there was a news that because of the vegan diet, the bones are becoming very fragile. The fractures are taking place. What you say to the vegans, because vegan community is increasing not only in India and all over the world. What you say about that? Whether this diet is good or not? If not, then what they should do, and if good, or what they have to add, because the trend which is coming about the fractures taking place, the bones have become very fragile. So what you say about that, Ms. Neha?
In vegan diet, usually people start avoiding the milk and dairy as well. So that is the reason, like milk and dairy is a major part of most of us diet, because we get most of the calcium from there. So as a source of calcium, many people continue having milk and curd. So when you remove this, there is some sort of calcium deficiency there in the body, which can lead to fragile bones and unhealthy bones. So if you want to go vegan, then I would suggest you definitely need some supplements to add on to your diet, so that there is no deficiencies and your bones are healthy. So for bone health, you add calcium supplement if you want to go vegan.
I think everybody does have the very strong willpower if prioritization is changed. Now, where I emphasize on this word prioritization is simple, that the lifestyle in the gone era was rather simple. So there was a simple kind of lifestyle, simple kind of food eating, which most people ate together, the same food cooked at home. Now, over the last few decades, lifestyle has undergone drastic changes. Everybody's working hours are different. Everybody's thought process different. Everybody's emotional constitution is different. Everybody's priorities about how to entertain himself is different. So much of media stimulation, so much of sensory stimulation. So consequently, so much of change in each individual system within. My request and my appeal to everyone who is viewing this program is this: as medicine, one medicine can't be there for everyone. Even the same medicine is given in a different doses for a 5-year-old or for 15-year-old or 50-year-old. Same medicine. Similarly, as we have been understanding, the food is medicine. Now is the high time that we have to change our priority. As much as we emphasize on earning money, eating food excessively, indiscriminately, injudiciously, and then paying to the doctors and the hospitals and the laboratories and the pharmaceutical industry for minimizing damages caused by excess dumping of the food, shift the priority. Use your willpower for slight shift in your lifestyle. Give emphasis to your food, what you are taking. Discuss with the experts, like one of these 3 people who are sitting over here and many other all over the country. Discuss with them what suits your constitution, what suits your emotional constitution, your physical constitution, your work style, your professional style, and accordingly take a call. And it's not rocket science. It's simple. Most dietitians are user friendly. They speak simple language. All 3 have spoken today. So I am proponent of slight shift in our attitude and transforming individual life. Over to you, Mr. Lal. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, I would like to just know how many meals a person should eat daily, because there are lots of confusion among the perception is somebody says you eat 4 or 5 meals, so somebody says no need, only eat 2 meals, that's fine, or 1 meal even is fine. What is your take of that?
Then ideally there has to be at least 3 meals in their routine. That is the bigger meals, that is breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Now, according to their schedule, it could be changed also. We could include the mid-mealers if they really want to and wish to or feel hungry at it. So every 2 hours we can ask them to eat. Or if because of the work schedules or due to people in being office, so there that time we can't really put them every 2 hours eating. So that is the time when we could really reduce the meals, but not so like the 3 meals have to be there. Apart from that, we can reduce the mid mealers and make them into one and put a nutri dense food instead of putting little at 2 hours. So that would also be a good way of going in one meal. And talking about 1 meal a day, that is okay, but that could be done only for 1 or 2 days. It is not the one thing that you would be following lifelong. So ideally your meal distribution has to be the thing which is sustainable throughout the life. So it is a long term process. So according to that, you need to see how well you can feed yourself, how hourly basis or 2 hourly basis you can feed yourself. But 3 meals, major 3 meals have to be there. That is your breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Today you have seen how the dietitians have told very clearly that whatsoever has happened in 2020, it has coming out, it has given a new dimensions as far as the diet is concerned. And that is very, very clear that one should consider, one should think that diet is as important as anything else. And if you have to be healthy, if you want to be remain yourself healthy, as well as avoid all these types of infections which are prevailing now, especially the coronavirus, your immunity, if you want to keep your immunity high, it is not overnight you can increase. You have to build up the immunity gradually, and for that you have to eat healthy diets, and for that you have to consult a good trained qualified dietitian. Take the consultation, take their advice, and see to it that you will follow. Yes, they also have a feeling that yes, because we want to do so, you can have one cheat meal either in a fortnight or a month, but not every day. Thank you very much for giving your views. And now today's program, which has been live telecasted by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV, Newsgaon se Samvad Sarokar News, as well as it was shown live on Facebook and YouTube. And our endeavor is to bring to you every day a new topic, current topic. And tomorrow, a media conference with Lal Goyal is the role of youth in positive media, and in which the chief guest will be Ms. Dr. P.K. Abraham, Managing Editor and Managing Director of Rashtra Deepika, which was the first Malayalam newspaper. And joining with him, 8 youth who will be questioning, who will be giving their views, and the chief guest will be giving his views about the role of youth in positive media. As we all know, there are so many negative media, fake news are there in the market. So we will be talking about the role of youth in positive media tomorrow. So please do join media conference with Lal Goyal at 10:30 a.m. Thank you very much, Dr. Rajiv Anand. Thank you very much, Ms. Mehak. Thank you very much, Ms. Neha. And thank you very much, Ms. Ishita, for giving your views and enlightening our viewers. Thank you very much.